Good evening. I am Paul. Welcome to the class. Hello class. This class is Strategic Implementation and Alignment. Topic is the problem-solving process. What is problem-based learning? Problem-based learning presents learners with a realistic scenario from which they must distill a problem that merits solving, apply a problem-solving approach to develop and analyze alternative solutions, and recommend and defend an optimal solution. What realistic scenario and optimal solution is? Realistic, a real event, entity, or state of affairs scenario, a sequence of events especially when imagined. Especially, an account or synopsis of the possible course of action or events optimal, most desirable or satisfactory solution, an action or process of solving a problem B, an answer to a problem. What does a scenario look like? The scenario is presented through information that reflects how the seeds of a problem typically are sown: email communications, meeting outcomes, data reports, personal conversations, and so forth. Scenarios typically are ill-defined, in that one must infer from the information what the problem is, and are often interdisciplinary, in that they transcend several subject areas. A holistic approach to problem-solving and solution development. What is it? There are many alternative approaches to solving problems. Traditionally, they have involved a step-by-step process of defining the problem, identifying alternative solutions, assessing the alternatives, making a decision, and implementing the solution. Any questions so far?
Paul, can I ask you a question?
Yes, Lucy.
Can you explain more about a holistic approach to problem solving?
Yes, I will. Lucy, do you understand this class?
Yes, I do.
A holistic approach to problem solving and solution development. A more state-of-the-art process also incorporates appreciative inquiry, which helps to reframe the problem into an opportunity and defines success in terms of the desired future and state and success factors. It is also a process that involves engaging people through the process of dialogue to create an initial state of shared understanding to help define the right problems and the expertise required to solve many of today's multidisciplinary and complex problems. Please look at the problem-solving process block diagrams. This is very important.
Dave, I like this class.
Yes, Carla, very interesting. Step 1. Describe the situation. Describing the situation, like all other steps in this process, takes time. But the time spent in understanding the context and aspects of the situation will enable one to frame the right problem to be addressed. One often sees the fire, ready, aim approach taken to important business challenges. Think back to a situation when you experienced this approach either by yourself or another. Why did it happen? What were the results? Often leaders react to the pressures and time constraints of the situation by quickly identifying a solution to a problem they have not clearly defined. Step 2. Frame the right problem. Once the situation is understood, a preliminary opportunity or issue can be identified, and then a problem statement can be defined to realize the opportunity or address the challenges. A decision also needs to be made as to whether there is a problem or whether the problem is worth solving. Based on the opportunity or challenge, develop a problem statement ensuring you are solving the right problem. A right problem is one that enables the creation of a number of different solutions. It is a problem statement. Step 3. Describe the end state goals from a broad perspective of values. The real focus of problem solving is the solution, not the problem statement, which might be thought of as the means to the end. However, to know you have solved the problem requires that you create a picture of the end state you want to achieve. The goals for this end state need to be carefully described. Step 4. Identify the alternatives. Seldom is there a single best solution to any problem. Rather, there are a set range of alternatives, one or more of which may work. This step involves identifying those alternatives. And it involves identifying any assumptions and constraints you believe exist which can limit the identification of possibilities or creative solutions and alternatives. Identifying possible solutions is a creative process. It involves brainstorming the alternative solutions to realize the end state and meet the goals needed to solve the problem. Step 5. Evaluate the alternatives. This step involves evaluating the alternatives against the end state goals. This process can include assignment of a score or rating to each solution for each of the goals, or it can simply be a thoughtful analysis of the pros and cons of the solutions against each goal. This process is answering the question, will the alternative solve the problem as defined by the desired end state and end state goals? Step 6. Identify and assess risks. Once the 2 or 3 best solutions have been identified in Step 5, it is important to do a risk assessment. This assessment can be used to rule out a solution that might have too high a risk. It is also used to identify potential risks of the possible 2 or 3 solutions and identify ways to address or mitigate the risks. The most important part of this step is to simply ask the right questions. What are the potential negative risks to the business? Step 7. Make the decision. Having evaluated the alternatives and considered the risks, it is now time to select among the alternatives, one of which might be to take no action. One might think this step is obvious and pretty simple. However, making a decision is not easy for some leaders. Step 8. Develop and implement the solution. Involves developing the implementation plan for the solution. A solution without a plan may not get off the ground, yet alone succeeds. Often a simple one-page project plan will be all that is needed to implement the solution. Step 9. Evaluate the results. Involves evaluating the outcome of the solution. The basic question is as follows. Did the solution meet its end state goals? If the solution did not meet these goals, it is important to answer another question, why not? Thanks for your attention. Dr. Koto, owner practitioner, PhD business.